Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome back to the channel. We are on episode 3 of a massive 4-week renovation challenge. It's going good so far. There's lots happening in this one. If you've missed the last couple, go and have a look up here. Other than that, let's get into it. Going that way. Welcome to day 4. Boys have done great. It's going to be massive. The sun's shining, a little bit windy. Let's get into it. See you later. So first task, let's get this covering off. Now, I might sound like I'm full of energy, but I tell you what, the boys on site have been working really hard and really long. Most of us at that point were sick. Sammy's not particularly enthused about filming today.
Can he do one of these for what he's doing?
Well, nah. Good morning, my little treacles. All right, just finishing off this flat roof. Putting a 6x2 upstand right around the border. Once we got this all in, that'll get cut back. And then we're gonna plant some fake joists on the outside for the fascia detail.
While Sammy's cracking on with the roof upstairs, let's look into the future, and here's some ugly bugger with an explanation of what the boys are doing in the eaves. Now, the eaves detail is probably the most difficult and complicated on this particular part of it because the space is so tight, and Max learned that firsthand, but you're going to see that later on. First things first, front eaves insulation. This is the introduction to retrofit. What we're doing here is we're putting modern insulation properties and airtight membranes into an old house. So here's a little bit of a detail about it. Here are the rafters which run down from the ridge towards the roadside. In here, we're going to install some PIR insulation boards. Now what that does is that prevents the cold from outside, in red pen, from the warm of the inside. Once we've got the insulation in, we can then swap pen color. We're going to install an airtight membrane across the bottom of those rafters. We'll then install some battens on here. That there allows us to install plasterboard and then plaster it. That gives us our finish. What the little X's mean on the end of the timber, just for reference, imagine you're looking down the piece of timber, there's a little X right on the end. That's what they mean. So that's the detail if you are looking at the roof. Obviously this is all going to be filled with insulation across here, and that runs the length of the roof. So here's all the serious talk about what the architect's drawn. Here's the boys for some not so serious talk. Sometimes it's like working with a bunch of 16-year-old boys. They don't see each other for 8 hours and they get all giddy in the morning because all their mates are back.
In your crack. What? Don't break it. It costs lots of money.
And today, we have had a surprise visitor all the way from Australia, mate.
Crocodile Dundee.
Matt brought me this.
Did he? Does Matt know he brought you this?
Box of screws. No. That was weird. Where's my skill tool?
Oh, you didn't! So, start of the process for us is we've got to get the floor cut out so we can get access underneath. Now this is in the loft. Underneath us is an area which is already exposed because we've had to do a whole bunch of work in that bedroom. We don't have access here, so what Jaden, Mark and Guy are doing is cutting through this piece of ply in order to be able to get us to the exposed rafters underneath. So with the floor cut out upstairs, we've now got the opportunity to put the membrane in underneath. It's really weird because you're working on both floors in order to create one membrane in between them. It's way easier from below than what it is up top because you haven't got all those rafters in the way. The membrane is a specific airtight membrane which has to be joined and taped to make sure that no air can penetrate between the roof, the windows, and everything in the middle. Whilst Guy and Mark are doing that, Josh is starting on the insulation on the left-hand side of the cheek, because that's just another job we can tick off the list. let's jump back up top and have a look at what the guys have been doing on the front elevation next door to Sam, who's doing the flat roof. So here's some detail on the front elevation. So the front elevation is your typical sort of man-made slate roof here in the UK. What we've done is we've put the membrane down. You would have seen that in the previous episodes. And then we did something called scatter batter. Now the process from here is we actually take these little bits of batten off. From there, we can actually work out what the bond of the tiles are and actually then go through and install the battens to the spacing of exactly what we need for the slates to be able to be nailed into. Now, before we do that, like I said, we've already membraned it. Now, the membrane is a secondary layer of protection. Back in the day, we never actually used to put them in the houses in England. They just used to put the slate straight on top of it. But a secondary layer is a safety net. So the safety net's on, we then rip the batten off, put it where we need it to, and then that is us getting tiles on and making it look all pretty. Let's go back and see what the guys have been up to. Next step on the flat roof, now that Sammy and Callum have put up the border for our insulation, is to get this green membrane down. Now that's a secondary layer of defense. It stops any type of moisture. If it were to penetrate through the Sanafill, it's going to stop it going any further. It's amazing how when you've been working for long hours in the heat, short amount of sleep, no recovery, long days, Saturdays, how the tiniest little simple thing can really become so difficult.
Remember your pressure points.
Hexagon.
Woosah.
21,000.
Oh mate, you put that on YouTube here, we'll You won't do it.
You want a bit,
You
mate?
won't do it.
One of the great things about having loads of lads on site is it means we get to help each other out and it makes things easier. Look, it's been a massive few days. The guys have been working really long hours. It's been stinking hot down in Exeter, which is great, but it does mean that sometimes it makes the most simple tasks very difficult.
And there we have it. Today you saw a roof finished by Crocodile Dundee.
Moving back inside on the next morning, we've got the membrane down. Now it's time for us to firstly pack out the rafters underneath. Now, this is something I haven't spoken about in any of the other footage that you've seen. We had to put 150mm insulation in between the rafters, but the rafters are only 75mm. So first job on there was to take another 75mm and then glue and fix it onto the bottom of the rafters. That is going to create a way more stable platform for us to install our insulation. Here's a really good example of what we mean by a really tight squeeze. Now, I'm not sure how Max managed to get off the camera and into doing this, but thanks a lot, mate. I think you drew the short straw today.
So the side here.
Here we have Max in his unnatural habitat. He's just taping up some of this membrane.
Like what we spoke about, there are parts of this which are really, really tight, really inaccessible, and Max, I think, may have been set up here. But he got the job done. Thanks, bud. Nice work.
That'll do. That'll do, donkey.
That'll do. This is Max in his unnatural habitat.
Cutting this stuff is really, really messy. So the boys tend to do it in one big chunk, do all in big cuts, and then have a big sort out. Once the sort out's done and we're clean and tidy, we've got rid of all the dust, then we can put the membrane over top of it, and then we can get the batten on, ready for plasterboarding. So while the boys are busy buzzing around inside, getting the insulation and the membrane done, if we follow outside, we've got the valley boards in on the roof, We can then put our lead flashing down, and then the boys can finally start laying some tiles. From here, it really does start to take shape. As well as the guys on the front, you can see at the top of this clip, Lee Marks is already up on the dormer and he started installing his trims ready for the sauna fill to be installed. Just as the boys are about to start laying the membrane, they have a shower come through. So quick cover up, time for a quick cup of tea, and then Lee can crack on and get this thing finally in the dry. The process for Lee is slightly different on this one. What Lee's chosen to do on this is to mechanically fix the edge of the sauna fill. The silver strips that you see have screws going through them all the way down through the Celotex into the ply, and then he glues over the top of that. It's just an added security. Once the main sheets are down, Lee can then go through with his heat gun and almost weld the two together. He goes all the way around his trims, all the way down the edges, and as you can see, the rain's just come in. What he's using here is he's actually using the heat gun to dry the batten off where the rain's hit it, so that he can get it primed and then get it glued.
Morning. I don't know whether you can tell from my body language, but I'm not really that keen on being here. This is another one of those jobs. I've had a quick look around. I'm going to try and start gently and first fix the kitchen.
Just to put this all in context, Lewis is an absolute legend, a wonderful, beautiful human being. However, he's come into this house and he's found a whole bunch of stuff wrong. It does make it frustrating. Look, everyone turns up expecting to be doing one thing, and the first thing you do is have to undo a whole bunch of someone else's bad workmanship. When it comes to electrics, it's got to be right. So Lewis has undone all the bad stuff, and then we'll just start again.
How's it all going?
Right.
I mean, it's all right. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No panic moment yet then?
Not yet, no.
So with the Sparkies pulling their hair out down in the kitchen, the boys up top have finally started to get some slates down on the main roof. Some of you may be wondering, why haven't they gone all the way to the edge? It does make it really handy to have a batten ladder for us to be able to climb up and down on. One of the things we spoke about in the previous episodes was we had a concern about the head height between the beam that forms the dormer cheek and the door going into the room. So Sammy started building the stud work. Now the stud work in, it looks way better. Maybe I was being a little bit dramatic about how much head height we were going to lose, but now that it's built, everyone gets to see it.
And that's the end of day 6. Another busy day. If you liked what you've seen, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Morning time, first job, check. Make sure everyone understands what's happening for the day. From there, we can divide into our teams, break out into sections, and get cracking.
plan, boys. Let's get on.
Day 7.
Day 7, let's go, boys.
Day 7 and
Smash.
we're all broken.
Day 7, and people aren't feeling the 13-hour days anymore.
Primary objective for the day is to get all of the cables in so that we can then move on to plasterboarding. This is going to be a really busy area today. We've got to get all of the cables in for the sockets and the lights, and we really need to get on with plasterboarding. So we've got a door lining in, the cables are going in for the lights, the cables are going in for the sockets all around the room. Then the boys can follow each other around, plasterboard on. You can see the white strips that we've put on the bottom of the rafters. We've put them on so that we can get below the lip of the steel, which is protruding below the bottom of the rafters. So cut some plasterboard into strips, fix it onto the bottom of the rafters, and then everything will line through beautifully.
Vaulted ceiling's done. Starting on the main ceiling. Sparkies have got all their cables in for us. Done all their first fix, basically. There's cables running all the way everywhere we need them. Door linings in. Staircases insulated. So yeah, coming along in here, if I jump out this window, the scaffolders are coming by any time now, because they need to take this lift down so that we can do this bottom part of the roof. So we've kind of built the dormer halfway up the roof, but in order to slate that in, flash it in, get it watertight, you've got to start from the bottom. And there's additional rafters, there's insulating, there's airtight membrane, so there's a lot of gubbins that's got to happen down in this part of the roof. Main man Pete down here on the SDS, he's taking the render off. He's been cracking on out here. So all of that render off, that's for an external insulating system that gets stuck onto that brickwork. I'll jump right up on the roof and we can see what the roofers have been doing on the other side. Got the ridge tiles on. That side of the roof slated. All going well.
It's a nice little morning job for myself this morning. Just about to mix up some PVA, nice thick PVA. To PVA all of these chasers left by the bloody Sparkies. As they like to do that. Obviously, sometimes it's their only way. So I will be PVAing and hardballing and prepping it all to be plastered in the next coming days. Right, so as you can see, all been hardwalled, ready for the plasterers. Beautiful.
So while Cal's been down doing the hardwall, the scaffolds come down on the rear elevation like Sammy was talking about before. Now the boys have decided to mob hand it, get this roof stripped, because we've got a bunch of work that needs to happen out here. That's the end of that one. Wow, it's coming along lovely. We are absolutely stoked with how it's going. The boys and girls have been working really, really hard. Thank you so much to all of our extended family. Thank you for putting in the hours. Like and subscribe, because Max tells me that I have to say that. If you've made it this far, thank you guys for watching. We do really, really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Catch ya.
And then that's it. And press the button.